You're listening to Sister Stargazers, celestial and terrestrial observations and advice from two real-life sisters. Welcome, fellow stargazers. The sisters are in the house. Hello, Jude.
Hey, Sarah. It's so good to see you and to hear you.
Yes, we are looking right now at episode 19, which is Sunday, January 16th through Saturday, January 22nd of 2022. And it sounds like this start of this week has a lot of energy happening. So let's get started. Where do you want to start?
Well, the biggest thing that's happening this week is the full moon in Cancer. Now, that's on the 17th. The Sun conjunct Pluto is a picture that's part of this full moon. And there's a couple other moving parts around the time of this full moon, which are going to be big influences. Uranus, the planet of disruption and insight and change and rebellion, is going to stop retrograde motion, and it's going to pause, and then it will start its direct motion. But it's not like a instant thing. It's not like, putting the car into
drive,
shifting into drive and like taking off like with a squealing of the wheels.
Yeah.
It's more like turning a semi tractor trailer. It's like on a steep curve.
Or like ocean liner takes a wide turn. We talked about that last week, that idea of stationing when a planet begins to shift directions.
Right.
It's going to be in suspension for a little bit while it recalibrates or redirects, or I don't know what the word would be.
Apparent direct motion.
Yeah.
So it looks like it's stopped in the sky, and it looks like it's stopped for several days. So this is an opening for us. And when a planet like Uranus or any planet, any of the planets, when they station retrograde, so they pause and then they go into apparent retrograde motion, or they pause like Uranus is doing this week, they pause and they go into direct motion. That's a time when we get a big download of Uranus energy because they've stopped. They look like they're stopped. So we can actually pull in some of that insight, that kind of surprising energy. It's that kind of energy, almost like a Tesla, like you've got lightning bolts coming out of your head, like, or your head is the receiver of lightning bolts.
Yeah.
Like you get like these incredible insights or ideas or flashes of potential. That's the potential of what Uranus can do when it's in this kind of stationing position.
Yes.
Let's talk about the full moon a bit, because it's a potent full moon. It's a full moon in Cancer.
Okay.
The day before the full moon, Pluto conjuncts the sun, or the sun actually conjuncts Pluto. The sun is the faster moving planet.
Okay.
So there may be evidence around this full moon of power struggles, of very heavy self-centered or self-protective behavior. There's also a sense of regeneration.
Okay.
If you can use this time, the best use of it will be to recognize and look at the ugly and repattern it, like dredge it up, look at the ugly stuff, go, oh my God, do I really want that in my world? No. Take steps to repattern, regenerate, transform, all of that. So with Pluto being in Capricorn, there is this potential for a lot of ugly truths to be kind of all of a sudden surfaced, because the sun now is shining light onto this Pluto point in late Capricorn.
Right.
This full moon is kind of a reflection. It is exactly a reflection, because the moon is reflecting the light back to the sun. So not only do you have the sun kind of brightly shining in Pluto's space, but then you have additional illumination of the moon, which is taking that light from the sun and shining it back to those even more subtle spaces where maybe the light doesn't go. So the light of the moon will reach into this place where feelings live.
Right.
And we have this opportunity to say, is that really right? Is what we're seeing really possible?
Yeah.
Is that the way we want to go? And I'm saying we here because the moon is the collective.
Yeah.
The moon also rules in Cancer mothers and children.
Yeah.
And issues around children, mothers, pregnancy, care of the young.
Yes, nurturing.
So these are all issues that will be brought up at this time.
Yes.
And Pluto being on the other side in Capricorn could be saying, well, this must be done for the sake of the children. And then the moon is saying, well, really? What is this?
Yeah.
This isn't quite really how we want to take care of the children. So there's a lot of issues around women, children, care that come up at the time of this full moon.
Yes.
Because the sun is also in a conjunction with Mercury, there's definitely going to be issues around communication.
Yeah.
That also are coming from maybe a place of unknowing or kind of power and authority. You do it this way. And the moon is also making an opposition to that. Mercury going, well, is this really good information?
Yeah.
So there's a lot to consider at this time of this full moon.
Right.
The other very serious or more, it gives this full moon so much weight, is that the moon conjunct Pluto is square to Eris.
Oh, our good friend Eris. Yes.
So it's also obsession, compulsion. But Eris is like, I'm not going to take this.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out and fight or stand up or, get out my megahorn and just blast out, my truth.
Yeah.
The moon is also square Eris.
Yes.
The potential for being outspoken or hearing other points of view are really high at this time because Eris is involved with a square both to the sun and the moon and to Pluto.
Yeah.
So there's no it's not okay.
Yeah.
It's not accepted, I should say. There's some injustice or a logic to it. It's a fight for rights.
Which I think pulls into this conversation, whose point of view, which point of view. It sounds like the moon is like the point of view for the collective good. And the sun is like illuminating maybe points of view that have been pretty ego-driven or self-serving driven. And with Eris's energy, it gets kind of like, which point of view are you going to fight for? And are we going to be able to organize ourselves to stand up for what is right?
Absolutely. That's really well done. Yeah.
And I mentioned this because I had gotten a new card deck over the summer, and it's the Crow Tarot by MJ Cullinane. And I had pulled it not knowing we were going to mention Eris. But the crow is the harbinger of the goddess of Eris. And then the card I had pulled was the 5 of Wands, which I'll try to post this picture if I can. But it's each crow, there's 5 crows, and they each have a colored wand in their grasp. And they're sort of flying all over the place. And they're flying above a lake, which is reflective. So I think that's also kind of interesting with the moon of reflecting back to us. Is this what you're going to stand for? Is this what you're going to stand up for? Get your wand, start flying around and make your voice heard. And then out of the chaos will come maybe, hopefully, some enlightened points of view to get organized around all these conversations that might be coming up early in this week.
Yes.
So the front of the week is kind of heavy because we have the full moon. And then we have this interesting thing with Uranus stationing, and then the third big event,
the Nodal Shift.
All right, let's keep going.
Okay, so these all happen within Monday, Tuesday.
Wow.
So the 17th, 18th. The full moon's on the 17th. And I want to let people know, you may be feeling the day before, a couple days before, or on the day of the full moon.
Right.
You may be feeling really extra weighted or tired. That's totally normal. You may not be able to sleep.
Yeah.
You may have fitful dreams. This is very, very normal. And I think people don't realize, they sometimes don't realize that the moon is full or new.
Yes.
And they have disrupted sleep. And that is completely normal a couple of days before the full moon or the new moon.
Thank you.
But this particular moon, because of Pluto, you might feel this really extra weight because Pluto holds our beliefs that we've been handed from our ancestors, our generational patterns, our biological beliefs, the beliefs that are inherent in our body that are governing our processes unbeknownst to us in our logical brain.
Right. It's underneath. It's subconscious.
It's totally underneath. And they know now that these can be inherited, that the gene expression of our bodies, RNA, DNA expression, is ruled by Pluto. It's the unseen. It's the coding.
Yeah.
But those are coded based on beliefs and feelings.
Right.
You can read Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton.
Right. Like we inherit these things, they're passed on and they're emotional kind of imprints. But those are things that if we can recognize and bring up, which the sun is asking us to do at this time, we can, once we recognize what it is, we can change it. Tying into this, you had read the Dane Rudhyar degree, which sort of speaks to this.
Yes, it's from the Astrological Mandala by Dane Rudhyar. And he takes those degrees, the 360 degrees of the zodiac, and he has made additional commentary to the Sabian symbols, which were
downloaded
to Elsie Wheeler.
Right. In the 20s.
In the 1920s. So this is the degree of where the full moon is. It's at 27 and some change of Cancer. But what happens is we round that up to 28 degrees, so the full degree. And the image for this is an Indian girl introduces her white lover to her assembled tribe. And Dane Rudhyar says his keynote about this is inner rebirth through a total acceptance of the primordial values manifest in the human body and its natural functions. So my take on this is that an Indian girl bringing her white lover, so someone from a different culture, back to her tribe, we are all the same underneath. We are more than skin deep. We are humankind. And there's a great Coldplay song that just came out on their new album. It really addresses this, but this idea of humankind. And he goes on to say, even as this symbol was formulated in the clairvoyant's mind, so that was Elsie Wheeler back in the 1920s, a few individuals belonging to the American intelligentsia, this was in the 20s again,
right,
were trying to find in their absorption into the culture of the Indian Pueblos of the Southwest a solution to their intellectual artificiality and personal emotional emptiness. So in the 20s, and I'll find out because I'm really curious, like, who is he talking about?
Yeah, me too. Yes. Who were these people going to the Indian Pueblos?
Yeah. So in the 20s, scholars went to the Pueblos to try to find authenticity.
Yes.
Because even in the 20s, the 1920s, the early part of the 20th century, they were realizing that we were completely cutting ourselves off from our emotional and intellectual roots. Like we were living in this artificiality and there was so much emptiness.
Yes.
So this book, the Astrological Mandala, was written in 1974, published in 1974. And he goes on to say, 50 years later, so he's talking about the 70s now, this process of trying to find our roots has gained great momentum, especially among the disenchanted youth of our affluent middle class.
The hippies.
Flower
power.
Right. The soul, or in Jungian terms, the anima, is leading the sophisticated and colorless, and in parentheses, he's got white, the white intellect, to a level of consciousness at which man can again operate in tune with the vast processes of the biosphere and recover the simplicity and the inner peace which city life and busyness or business deny.
Right.
So we are really being called to find ecological solutions, nature solutions,
community-centered solutions.
Yes. And working in biomimicry, working in conjunction with nature, using nature as a design source, rather than coming up with our own like crazy lab produced artificially intelligence, connect the dots, Rube Goldberg machine of reality. We are being asked to really consider, especially with Venus retrograde, like, what is it worth? Like, where do our values lie? Are we in an authentic world, or are we creating an artificial reality?
Yeah, or perpetuating an artificial reality. And this, again, the sun is illuminating Pluto, the moon is reflecting this back. And also, like, what is the idea of other and integration of societies and humans, and that because we are all humankind, isn't there a way that we can actually integrate better as a species? And
right. Can't we do this?
Yeah.
We got to get this together. Man, this is just so basic.
Well, the other thing you mentioned that is supporting this, which I also think is a huge flow of feminine energy by these dwarf planets or asteroids that are in play. So we don't have to go through all of them, but just to know that this thing that is being brought up this week, that is really at the front of the week, kind of, again, illuminated for us, is being supported with this divine feminine energy of these dwarf planets. I think it's not an accident that this female character in this degree is bringing forward this other to present to her people, to integrate, to adopt, to see from another point of view, or whatever it is. I don't know. Do you want to mention anything more about these feminine powers?
Yeah. I mean, the archetypes right now are just like, they're just blazing forward, like they're just coming right up to the front. So we have Sherlock, who is conjunct Pluto and the Sun, and her main goal is to bring healing. Juno, who is the asteroid goddess of marriage and partnership, she is also in conjunction with the Sun. So she is bringing up issues of what is right, what is fair in relationships. Vesta is parallel the Sun. Vesta is about the home, the center of the home, the hearth fire, truly at the core, what we dedicate our energy to. What do we want to cultivate? Do we want to cultivate power and authority? Do we want to cultivate something else?
Right.
Sedna, which is about the adoption of patriarchal values by women that discover that those values do not work for them.
Yeah.
Sedna is very much highlighted at this full moon because she's trine the Sun and sextile to the moon. So that understanding that, holy cow, I've adopted these values that are not serving me.
Yeah, or inherited them. I've inherited these values. I've been genetically imprinted, right.
We have Pallas. So Pallas is about strategy and weaving and really kind of understanding. It's like the chessboard, how do we get from here to there? Right. She is conjunct Neptune. So she's really looking at how our unconscious, how our collective patterning has brought us to this place. So she's trying the moon.
Yeah.
So Pallas is like, we've got to create a new pattern based on love and harmony and
creativity. Yeah.
Yes. Inspiration and higher values. And then Ceres, the asteroid goddess of mothers, is trine the Sun and sextile the moon. So that energy again of mothers and children and the grief and loss of children, but the support of children and issues of mothering and nurturing are going to be brought forward, as that's a very strong support. In addition, if I didn't see Ceres active in this chart, I wouldn't be as confident of those issues that are brought up by the moon in this placement in Cancer. So it's just an additional verification that these are really large issues that are looming right on the threshold of the week and will be brought forward as the month progresses.
So one of the things I think is an important takeaway, which is, okay, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, a lot of energy. It sounds like it's going to be important to find a flow or take a step back or try to stay as grounded as you can. So I'd like to just offer here, as we have in other episodes, a breathing exercise or a quiet posture or moment of meditation so that you can still stay connected, stay grounded, because these energies feel like they could kind of throw us off track or get confusing. So I want to just offer, there's no wrong way to breathe. Let me say that the first thing. And that breath is always accessible because it's air. So when you find yourself in a moment of high tension or high energy or stress, really just bringing attention to that moment and taking a breath, there's always breath accessible to you because air is around us all the time. And if you can add a counting component of just breathing in for 4, holding for 4, breathing out for 4. If you can't do 4, 3. Sometimes the counting or doing what would be called square breathing just brings additional awareness and puts your mind on something other than the situation so that you can reground, reconnect to your breath.
Absolutely. Yeah. On any of the grounding techniques like earthing. Like I know it's cold out and snowy in some places, but if you can just put your bare feet, even for a few minutes outside on the ground, and having a wool sock on,
a natural fiber,
something that's not like polyester or acrylic that will block the flow, but just having a natural material, on your feet so you're not completely cold. There's a movie called Earthing on YouTube. It's a real thing. And it's a very much an exchange of ion energy between the earth and your body that will help stabilize your sense of well-being and give you more of a inner peace.
We didn't touch too much upon this nodal shift, but just to know that also is the third sort of major thing happening these first few days of the week.
And I can say just briefly, it's a shift from air and fire to earth and water.
The feminine elements. We talked about that last week. Again, this reiteration of this feminine energy.
Right. So the North Node will be in Taurus. It will move into Taurus on the 18th, and the South Node will be in Scorpio. And they'll be in these two signs opposite each other over the next 18 months. So we have this opportunity to release the old, especially old genetic out-of-date material from Scorpio. So South Node in Scorpio is releasing, letting go. North Node in Taurus is bringing forward authenticity, what we value.
Awesome. Well, so this was really for the week of Sunday the 16th through Saturday the 22nd of January. We have lots of links to put in down below in the comments so that you can find some of these resources. Keep in touch with your heart, everybody. Those grounding and earthing exercises. Any last thoughts?
No, I'm just hoping that this is of use to folks. And if you can share, like, subscribe.
Yes.
We'll have it posted on YouTube and Facebook, and we've started an Instagram account. So, and we're both really excited about moving forward. We have a lot of ideas.
Yeah, we do. We have a lot of ideas.
And we'd love to hear if you've got any comments at all.
Yeah.
Good, bad questions.
And you can also email us directly at connect@sisterstargazers.com.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful week, everyone, and let us know how it's going for you. And we will see you next week.
Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to Sister Stargazers. Let us know what worked for you this week. Find us on Facebook and post a comment at Sister Stargazers.